Okay.
Cool.
Maybe there's not a verb here. Maybe.
Ausatine is a verb, but it's not used. It's used in a different way.
Yes.
So in order to see a person?
Not quite. And so
Darn it.
because it maintains it's got a low tone, and it doesn't do that thing where it changes to what looks like a negative. Like you could say, I was teeny, and that would be like linking some verb to another verb, right? Gyake awastini. It was good that they saw them.
Yeah.
But in this case, ausatini. What this low tone suffix does, it operates exactly the same, except the tone stays low, is it turns a verb into an adjective, which is pretty wild. So some of them are pretty easy. Chitzin, chitzini, what? You know, it's okay, strong woman, got it. Yake, yaka, good person, okay, got it. Ausatini ka. What is that though?
I don't see how it fits in the sentence though with seen man.
What it becomes is the person he saw.
The person he saw.
You could do this with a whole bunch of, you could do this with, I think, any verb. So you could say, a shawachichi, no, right? A shawachichi, like a shawach, what am I, I'm forgetting this verb. So we go up to this one, a shawachich, a shawachichi, that young man that he clubbed on the head. So it just ties the verb. The verb is kind of still there. Maybe that's why Zoom gave me the boot. But in this case, you'd say, and I don't think I translated this one correctly. So as far as like what we do with the English, right? So I'd say like it's here, inland, between these mountains. It is. This person he saw is here. So it does a couple other like all of these are yeah, a yeah, yeah, a yeah, a yeah. Again, like this already sets us up for some pretty like the sense of immediacy that we were talking about. And now I think this is like creating a sudden thing. Like it's
Renee, like I would expect like pinched X on the after cock, or like a location marker there if you're like or something, to say this person is located here, but I don't know.
well, I think you would if you had like a yayati type of verb, but in the absence of any verbs, and yeah, you might have that, but in yeah, dach here, the interior, yashaq, this saddle of a mountain, it is the person he sees. It is. So yeah, it's really interesting, like in terms of how do we, so like inland between the mountains, it is the person he saw. Like I don't like,
or he saw the person.
right? But like there's, it has to do the person he sees here. Something like that, right? Like as far as like trying to convey the same thing that's going on in the Tlingit is really interesting here. Because like this would be the person he saw or the person he sees, right?
Will we see this sentence pattern in chapter 0 where we say dasaya, tasaya, and that's enough as a sentence. This is throughout.
Right. So you'd say like it is the person he sees. Or it's this person he sees, maybe. I don't know. You will do that. It's interesting, yeah, because there's other ways you could do this.
That's a good one. That's
Ta'awa al-satin. He sees this person, but
yeah.
instead it's this person that he sees. So there's something about it, right? Because also, I think this is the way you sort of set up a little bit of mystery, because this is an unusual way to put a sentence together. But that's because what we're going to get to next, I think really, it's sort of building, right? Like how to tell a story in Tlingit. It's building it and it's saying, this is something unusual, so I'm going to tell it to you in an unusual manner. And I think that's what happens. And then we get here.
Just then he knew he saw a cannibal.
But we don't really have the saw part in here.
Oh, okay. It was the cannibal? It
He-
was a cannibal?
Okay.
Or a member of the cannibal clan?
Well, I still think Kayaaní Kwan is like a single thing. It's
Yeah, it's a particular person, particular cannibal, right? It's the
It's-
name of that cannibal.
yeah. Well, it
Well,
seems-
the name was Gushtul or something, wasn't it?
Which I think, I don't want to get the cannibal angry, but I think that name means a scar on the bottom.
Huh.
What word are you talking about now?
Kayaaní Kwan, and then Gutish. That's the name. That's the name of this cannibal. But I think this name, Kayaaní Kwan, refers specifically to this monster that becomes the mosquitoes.
Okay.
Oh,
Theory.
the scar on the bottom is Gutis or Kayaaní Kwan.
No, Gutish.
And that's the name of this cannibal. But a lot of people, there's not too many people who know that name. It doesn't tend to pop up in the stories. A speaker from Klukwan told it to me, and then I was talking to Kur about it as well.
I don't know if it's the same in Tlingit culture, but in our way we say there's woodsmen, and they were actual people that went wild and left our villages and live in the world on their own because they ate people or killed someone. But they're living around out there, so they're people that went wild.
That's probably like Kushtaka. And in Haida, it's Qaqid. Very similar. But in Haida, they're different though. Like in Haida, Qaqid like drowns at sea and gets lost between worlds. And Kushtaka, you get taken by the land otters and they turn you into one of them. But you're kind of stuck in between them.
But there was story more than just this story. I mean, there was like discussion or talk about the cannibal people, the people they were cannibal people.
Yeah.
In fact, that was one of the things which I don't know, but I just remember hearing when I was younger, they used to wear the tick, around the cedar bark around their rope around them was an identifier from something to do with the cannibal people.
And you have Naqtati, which are ones who use like spiritual power to hurt people.
Mhm.
And is the one that use spiritual power to help people. Then maybe there's a way, and I haven't heard it, but maybe you could say something like Qusaqaqu, the people that eat other people. But what's really interesting is you do have this, and maybe it is just Qusaqaqan as well. But like in the instance of this story, I think it is this specific one they're talking about because this thing was so powerful, like they still would feed it, to say like, don't come back. We'll keep feeding you, just don't come back. Okay. Good cheesh. Good discussion. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You didn't see anything. Okay. So the ush serves a purpose here.
Or the new object.
Not the new. This is saying the main character, that one we've been talking about. And by doing that, it instantly tells us who's doing what to whom.
The younger brother.
Yeah. The boy is ush. So that means we got two things, right? The boy and the cannibal. But if the boy is the main character, then we say ashkhande yanakut. We can translate that as the cannibal went to him, is walking up to him.
Oh, okay, got it.
Hyundai.
Ashande.
And so and then there's different ways. Like in this case, I'm translating as it. I'll just use that as it to say like it's a sort of semi-non-human thing, right?
How do you know that the cannibal went to the boy? It looks like the boy
'Cause
went somewhere.
the boy is the main character. So whenever it says ush, that's
Uh-huh.
the boy.
Right.
Because I would expect akhande yanakut, the boy went to, and then I would have the boy went to him. So it's like once the boy gets established as the main character, I would
Uh-huh.
assume every verb is the boy doing it, unless it's
Uh-huh.
marked otherwise. And in this case, it's marked otherwise. To the main character, he or it is going. So then it must be the cannibal who's doing it, because the cannibal is not going to be ush. Like a Raven story is a great example. Raven will always, it'll be ush. There are a couple where like they do a character switch. Like it'll switch to the elder, the tide elder, and then they become ush. And it gets a little bit confusing. So you do have some sliding of it, but typically this will refer to the main character.
Okay.
So if you wanted to say that the boy was going towards the cannibal, you would just say Hande Yanagut.
I would say khande yanagut.
Okay, all
But
right,
you could also say du khande yanagut.
okay.
And I think in the story he treats him like a human. Like technically is non-human. So if you say akhande yanakut, they went towards the bear, they went towards the dog. Your dog can be do. If you, my dog's a do. I don't know. Think about how you want. But in this case, I think he does say do for the cannibal. Good questions.
Okay, the light bulb that just went off for me just now is that ush is not about the preceding subject, remaining subject, or the object remaining object. It's about the main character. And yeah, okay.
This person we've been talking about. And that's how it functions in the next sentence as well. And then if you do a character switch, like basically saying who's doing the action now, the CH does that. And in this case, we see both of them. So he says, ush shawachich. And in this case, this ush is an object pronoun. So he clubs the main character over the head. It's the cannibal that does it. Just in case we're not sure, cannibal does it. And this CH, because it's very close and right in front of the verb, even if it's separated by awe, it knocks out this. You would usually say ashawachich. So the object would usually be but the CH cancels that pushes it back, and you actually have double zero pronouns, zero object, zero subject. It can happen.
I'm getting somewhat confused because when I see, I think of it means reflexive.
That would be chush.
Okay.
And then so you would have chush shawdechich. They club themselves on the head, which would be very unusual. But some of them do, maybe on accident, like, swinging a bat around.
I could see it in a cartoon,
I just saw it. This is sidetrack this year. I was playing racquetball with a friend, and he chush shawdechich. He clubbed himself right in the head. And I said, and he was really embarrassed. I said, well, you could just say I did it. I don't care. Just say it's an accident. Because because he was really embarrassed that he like missed so bad and like bonked it, like because he was bleeding kind of bad. And then
Well,
later,
could you explain that ush then a little bit more, because it's like it's
Ush is a whole thing. It's just a whole thing. It's not made of multiple parts.
Okay.
It's a whole pronoun that we haven't really spent a lot of time at, because like the goal is to like master these 6 pronouns, but then we start
Yeah.
saying there's some more. Don't freak out.
Oh,
Then we start
okay. I
saying
won't freak out.
whoosh to each other, chush to the self, ush, this person we've been talking about. So what it does is it works really well in stories to say, this is Peter Rabbit, this is Raven, this is that boy.
Mm,
Whoever that main character is, they're often ush when we need to clarify some other action. And it's unusual. Like I don't think English kind of does. He was like if I was telling you a story about 2 guys who got in a fight and I don't know either of them, I'd be like, oh yeah, and then that one guy, that guy, yeah,
uh,
that guy, he hit him, that other guy, and so I would usually say this guy, that guy, and that's how I would usually take care of that, or this girl, that girl, whatever. Or I'd say like the black jacket guy or whatever. But Tlingit has this way to code it to say that one we've been talking about. And that's what it does here. Ush is the boy, Ush is also the boy, stays the boy right here. So by this on its own, we would know the cannibal clubbed the boy on the head. It's happening to the boy because he's the ush. But then it just gives us extra clarification. It is the cannibal that clubs him over the head.
I guess the hard part is where is the pronoun in the shawahich? I mean, there's no a shawahich. So
Well,
we would know it's a third person on a third person.
it's
I
not a
guess
third
I'm used to
person.
seeing
It's not a third
it's
person.
not.
No, it's its own.
Hmm.
It's its whole own pronoun. We just haven't. It's sort of like we give
Okay,
you.
but you'll take us there at some point, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You'll explain this.
I guess because you could change this to. Oops. We could change this to ye, and it's functioning the same way. Ye shawachich, they clubbed you all on the head.
Mhm.
Ha shawachich, they clubbed us on the head. And then you could also say, so it is a disconnected pronoun, which means it's its own word,
Mhm.
but it is an object pronoun, which is why you don't have a. Like this wouldn't,
Okay, it's an
that would not make
object
sense.
pronoun.
You're putting
That's
yeah,
now it's making sense.
it is. Yeah, and this one is a possessive pronoun. There is another ush, right? Just like
Ugh.
there are, but some of them change. That's the other thing too. Ach becomes chet. Ha stays ha, so it's a lot like ha. This would be ha chande, ha shawachich. So in this case, ush shawachich. It's not that common, but you will see it in stories. And from this point, it's another one of these things. Like we've been doing this for years, but now you're gonna look into a story like, hey, there's that ush. I don't know why I didn't see it before. But it's because now it's been pointed out, and your brain would be like, I'm looking for the ashkach. I'm looking for him.
But you could use it in a regular conversation,
Yeah,
although it's not that common.
yeah. Like it works really well for small stories. Like even just, and we tell stories all the
Uh,
time. Oh man, I gotta tell
right.
you what happened with these 2 people, right?
Okay. Well, I hope we see it again. Otherwise,
We will, we will.
okay.
Okay. So we'll leave off. We'll end here for the week. Struck him on the head. The cannibal struck him on the head. But this is good stuff. Like I was saying. I think I was saying in class. Yes, I'm getting a little foggy brain, like late semester fog brain. But I think it was last semester. I was saying it's sort of like you go somewhere and you take a trip and you bring a suitcase and the suitcase is kind of full and you buy a few things, then you gotta like really stuff, you like try and zip that suitcase closed. We get to that point with Lingi where like you just got stuff one more. I gotta stuff an ush in here. All right, let's get the ush and try and close the suitcase. But you can, and so you will see it. You'll see it some more, and that's the idea of sort of like when we do the simplified version of this story, there won't be any ush in it. And this happened in Hawaii when I was learning Hawaiian. They're like, here's the pronouns. It's like, okay, got it. Then I go talk to other, people who know Hawaiian. They're like, did they tell you about these? It's like, no, those exist. They're like, yeah, but they're like, we do that in Tlingit too. We just withhold information because if you're just getting started, we're like, okay, here's the 16 pronoun or whatever there are. Here's all the pronouns, and we withhold some. Like even like year one, sometimes when we talk about the fourth person, yeah, don't worry about that. But then we'll start introducing it late in year one, like, oh yeah, there's this other one too.
There's going to be an excess baggage pronoun fee involved here.
You're Club 49. We waive all the fees for you. All the fees are waived.
Oh, you can't wait. Goodness,
There's a
geez.
whole extra bag.
Kayaaní and I got in our own way. We got to this point today where we realized we're getting in our own way with the transcription and translation because we're overcomplicating it in our mind. And sometimes there comes a point where you just have to say, a shkalneek. Okay, like that's a pattern that can happen. I'm going to say it over my head a million times and use it, repeat it. Like, you know, sometimes you can kind of just like go in overdrive and accept it because our minds want to resist it a lot of the time.
Well, yeah, I think the English brain wants it to make sense in English. And you got to sort of talk your way a long way through it. But after a while, you'd be like, okay, English just doesn't have this thing. And Tlingit has this thing. And that's totally fine because English has things that Tlingit doesn't have, like the. There's no the in Tlingit, you know, and so Hawaiian has the. You have to have the in Hawaiian, right? And so it's totally fine. But then you just get to these things and it's like, but once you get to the agreement part, we're like, okay, it's just gonna have to be that way. And I'll reckon with it as we go along. I'll cry about it as we go along. Okay, yeah, oratory is Saturday, so if anybody's participating in oratory, if you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out, and I'll see you folks there.
What time is it?
Hold on. I think it starts at 10 a.m. And it is at the Hashukahit at Sealaska Heritage Institute.
Ah,
But there will also be a Zoom option.
sheesh.
Oh. Okay. Okay, sheesh.
Where would we find the Zoom option?
I can put it on Basecamp when I find it. There was a Facebook announcement.
SHI Facebook, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I can find that.
I will also put the link on our class page once I find it.
Goodness, cheese.
Cheese, Johan.
All right.
Cheese.
Diagen.
Yes, cheese. Yes, cheese.
Cheese.
Bye.